Welcome to Tool Talk episode 16. This is the official podcast for Jonard Tools. Today, we have myself, Ed Cerbona, Senior Director of Engineering, and Wayne Bunce, our National Sales Director for North America for Jonard Tools. Today, our special guest is Jonard's own Luke Lierop. Luke Lierop is our Managing Director for EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and operations for those regions. Okay, welcome, Luke. Let me read a little bio.
Here.
Thank you. Let me read a little bio here. Luke started working in the fiber industry in 1993, providing solutions for end-to-end optical links for the cable TV market. From 1998 through 2008, he was working in the broadcast industry for companies such as HBO. Between 2008 and 2017, he managed companies' access in the DOCSIS industry and broadband. Between 2017 and 2021, he did various projects and consulting work for broadband and wireless networks. Again, welcome aboard, Luke. It's been good working with you for what? The last almost year and a half? Yeah, almost 2 years. Yeah. So
Nice to be here. Nice to be part of this one.
Fantastic. So we're going to grill you today on your market. You know, our last podcast episode, we had discussions basically about what was going on in Latin America. I think it's just good to broaden this out and understand some of the other regions in the world. So, Wayne, you have...
I have so many questions.
Okay, go for it, bud.
Shoot. So I'm actually fascinated by the different cultures and like the way they do things in Europe versus the U.S. And first of all, let's talk about home construction. How they actually build homes, if they build them like we do here in the States, where we're putting 2x4s or metal studs, depending if it's a building, and then talk about infrastructure, how they're actually running either fiber, or copper, or coax from telephone poles. Are they burying them from pedestals? Just tell us what's going on over there.
I must say, in Europe in general, all the houses are constructed concrete, brick stones, very strong construction. The main difference, if we take US, aerial construction of cables, I think it's coming back to the utility companies, like the gas, electricity, water. Everything was on the ground. And also the majority of the cities, they like to have everything on the ground. It's a nicer view for tourists. So I think the major project, I think in every country today, is just putting everything into the ground. And that makes the popularity of the ducts, micro ducts bundles here in Europe so big.
Yeah, we've had this discussion offline too, where everyone's kind of like blowing fiber in Europe, or here in the States, we're still kind of, I think it's a mixed bag. A lot of companies are not ramping up. They don't want to pay for the extra gear, pay for the blowers, so they're still pulling. What's it like over in Europe?
Well, before you go into that, the part of that is our infrastructure here. There's a lot of above ground cabling, so it's, you know, you start getting into ducts and things like that, mostly in new construction, new projects, new housing development, stuff like that. Or maybe if a major street is being renovated or something, they may move some of the utilities from above ground to underground. Some of the most major cities, the cabling infrastructure is underground, but as soon as you get outside of that, it tends to be above ground. So I just want to say that. So,
yeah. Well, I have to say, majority of the ducts today installed, it's also future-proof. And you put a bundle into the ground of 7 or sometimes more sub-ducts. Not everything is used, so you have a lot of options in the future. Expanding broadband, your speed, make it smaller in nodes, direct access. Not to mention the dual layer of two operators at the same time. The open network of the European Union that is so pushing that one physical network and multiple operators, multiple service providers. So there's a lot of options which is easy to do with ducts. And majority is also driven by, let's say, the cities. As I mentioned in the beginning, keep the city clean, everything should be on the ground. For tourists, also if you think, there were some statistics, I don't know when I left them, but there were statistics if you put everything above the ground, poles, you have the street cabinets, the number of accidents that are breaking down a pole, breaking down the street cabinet, it's massive, and it's immediately a major outage for the network. Today, everyone works at home, or majority works at home. The internet is just a must. You can't live without internet anymore. Oh, we have seen the pandemic. The impact is very clear. So that's a bit the motivation behind all those underground structures, I believe.
So you gotta back you up. So the drinking age is 18 in Europe.
Yeah, most countries. Yeah, you can do it quicker.
Where are you going with this, Wayne?
That's why they gotta remove all the poles. All these teenagers out there drinking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, but watch out. We can't drive a car before we're 18. So 16, like you have in the US, is maybe also dangerous.
Yeah.
So
what's the driving age? You say it's 18?
18 in most countries. 18.
Yeah. No, I think the other thing that I think is really cool here in the States, it's a wide country. We're a big country, but like you can drive, but you're going from one country to the next country. Is it different? Like the layout, is in every country the same, or is like one country and you can, where are you? Like just so people can like imagine in their heads what we're talking about here.
Oh yeah. Today I live in Warsaw. Let's say the major highways, they all look the same. If you go to the countryside, there's maybe some differences, but in general, I think it's all looking the same. I'm driving quite often with the car from different countries, sometimes 3-4 countries in a week. You get used to it. For myself, at least, I don't see the differences.
So is fiber deployment the same in every country? Are they doing the same things? Is it the same company?
No. You have, of course, for every material, different providers, cables, ducts, bundles. Of course, it's a strong competition here in Europe. Also driven, I think, mainly by the ARPU. If you take a broadband connection in the States, probably you pay for 100 gig or 100 mega, you pay probably like $80. Here we have connections of 300 megabytes, 600 megabytes for like 20 euros, which is $25. But the ARPU is much lower. So initially it's translated to what can we spend here on the equipment. So if I compare material cost or product costs in Europe, the same product in the US, probably there's a big difference. So the price is very aggressive. The price market is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That market at those price points is highly aggressive. To get something like that here, you're paying probably over $100, $150 a month if those speeds are offered. Not everybody's offering speeds up at 1 gig or anything like that. It's quickly coming. It's not to say it doesn't exist. Certainly it exists in your more populated areas. When you start getting into the more rural areas, that chances are that does not exist. And honestly, and when you hit the rural areas, there's broadband satellite, and you're talking speeds, quote, DSL, high-speed DSL is there. You're really talking very, very slow, honestly, very slow speeds in relation. So.
Yeah, but we have them still in Europe. We have certain countries where you have the countryside, like, the 20, 30 megabytes. But of
Yeah.
course, the European government and also the local governments, they are stimulating and putting money on top of the table.
Right.
Like, hey, we have to get everyone the access to decent internet speeds.
And that's what's going on here, and that's driving the what we see today, the boom in the broadband industry and all the construction work going on, building out the infrastructure and strengthening the infrastructure as well. So
So look, on a typical house, what type of demand? So here in the States, I stream a lot, but we also have cable and internet. So we don't no longer, I think hardly anyone has landlines anymore. So everyone's gotten rid of their phones. Is that the same? Are you guys streaming? Are you people paying for regular cable still? Like, what's going on? What's the demand?
Maybe I'm not really the regular user or customer. I have, of course, internet. I think half a gig, which gives me all the options for doing the work, video conference calling, and streaming is, the Netflix, the HBOs. Most of the customer, of course, also the national channels where you have the regular cable access.
Okay.
Like Comcast, for instance, absolutely, yeah. But that's common thing.
That's typical? Yeah. So
That's typical.
I know my children, for example, none of my kids have cable TV anymore. They stream everything. We're old school. We have to have the local channels.
yeah,
So they all make fun of us. They're like, "Why do you have cable? That's so outdated." So like,
Yeah.
I guess, but
no,
yeah,
it's I have that as well, and honestly, I still have a landline, if you will, but
yeah. I call it when I can't get a hold of you on your cell phone still.
Yes, I know.
He's the only one I know that still has a landline, by the way. Actually, I think my mother-in-law has one too.
But you know why I have it? It's just part of the package deal that the service provider offers. You get the
Like in part of your
triple
house.
play. Yeah, exactly. So it's
So-
part of the internet, part of your internet, part of your cable service. Like you said, the kids today, all they do is they just get internet service and don't need it. For the package deal for the amount of dollars spent. I mean, I have security with it as well. So you bundle all that together. Okay. I don't mind. I'm old school. Yeah. I watch the old traditional channels. Sorry.
So it does bring up an interesting point. The demand for bandwidth, since everybody's streaming everything, is why we're seeing a boom in fiber deployment everywhere. Not just in Europe and the US. I handle Canada as well. So I think that's what's driving the demand for fiber.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. You see the demand after the pandemic or during the pandemic. I think most of the networks during pandemic, they were just stretched out to more than 100% to keep up with the capacity. And it's just a natural evolution for everyone. Streaming, everyone is doing it. As I mentioned, kids, regular linear TV is out of the question. That's not happening. So there is a massive demand after that one. People are out to work at home more often than before. So you need a stable internet connection. But there's also one thing that I want to bring up in this. I'm not quite sure how many minutes we have left. It's also the
Plenty of
resources
time.
to build. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
go ahead.
The resources, the guys that are really building the network, that has become here a problem to get people to build the networks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, personally, from my side, I see that evolution from in the past, people were getting a week of training or maybe sometimes longer. They knew everything inside out before they made a step into the real world, into the network. Today, it's a couple of days, basic training, and oops, there you go. Of course, you get more knowledge being on the job in the field, but certainly it has an impact, maybe a positive impact as well for us. And for the team from Met, we have to work very hard to make the tools efficient and really straightforward.
Yeah,
Which is a challenge, but it's a positive challenge for all of us.
what is happening here in the U.S. and I was at a MSL last week in Vegas. They are taking their copper techs and they're becoming fiber techs, and manpower is a big issue. And the workforce is getting younger as well. So like a lot of these people are coming in raw and they're learning fiber on the fly. A lot of companies though, they require certification and training, and a lot of it's being done in-house. But some of the other companies, they're literally just taking these young kids and they're becoming fiber techs. And there is a need for training here in the U.S. And I don't know if that's what you're seeing as well, but it's just because the guys are going from copper to fiber.
Mm-hmm. Also from us, but also coming from outside of the industry. You could work in the supermarket last week, and today you're in the network of fiber. So it goes really. The demand is here. There's an immense number of places in Europe where you can do fiber installations. Finding the people is probably the major or the main headache for every system operator.
So
I think it's a worldwide issue to get to cope with this boom of technology. Finding the people to build really the network. But we will get there.
So are the government subsidizing the infrastructure like they hear in the U.S. where they're funding a lot of the projects? Is that going on there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of countries were a bit behind over the past years. They have seen now that there are major leaders in the European Union. They're a bit behind and now putting significant amounts of money on the table to get, the country at the technology level. Industry drives on the internet. So It's really booming. Also from the government, take their responsibility. And everyone is doing a good job, I have to say. European governments, local governments, everyone is taking up his responsibility.
That's good. Luke, is there various geographic regions that are much more matured in terms of their fiber deployment versus other parts of Europe? Because I'm thinking in relation to like the U.S. There are certain parts that are much more built out than other parts, and I got to imagine. I'm just curious where, how does that lie? Is it, Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Southern Europe, etc.? Who's where?
It's a kind of mix between the countries. I think it's also part of maybe the political influences, putting the money on the table. Maybe because of the incumbent telco that was a bit behind on decision-making processes. Well, we all know today the major countries in Europe, I would say Belgium, Netherlands, definitely Germany, UK. But also every country has, in this process, is making now this boom to get it even to the rural areas. Big cities are done. Now it's also the responsibility for the government, put everyone, or give everyone the option to get high-speed internet. But I think every country today, and we see it from the manufacturers of cable and ducts as well, lead times were going through the roof. I think it's stabilizing now for the moment, but still every country is in a booming aspect. Major countries, as you mentioned, that are having the leads, I think France, Spain, definitely. Italy took a good step forward, but also Eastern European countries. They are far advanced with fiber. Because they had the choice. They had old telephone systems, ADSL.
As the political world changed, they were behind, and so they got the opportunity as they entered the European Union to upgrade. I'm assuming that's what you're saying there. So.
Yeah, it's a technology change, and I think they were at the right moment that certain technology became really accessible with a good price. Mm-hmm. So instead of making a middle step, you make the leap immediately to the fiber optic instead of making some compromises on technologies.
Right.
Make immediately the step forward and make a future-proof project, a network.
Right.
Are you guys seeing XGS PON there now?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I did preparation of a project XGS PON in 2020 already.
Okay.
So it's maybe not like mainstream, but definitely it's in the field for sure.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more popular here in the States as the build outs continue. I think a lot of companies are doing XGS versus EPON, GPON, and but it's becoming more evident. More conversations I have with people, everyone's talking about XGS PON, and it's weird because it kind of came out of nowhere after COVID. I remember the first show we did after COVID, we went to Fiber Connect, and that's the first time anyone ever asked me for an XGS meter. And I'm like, oh wow, it's arrived. I've heard rumors. I've listened to podcasts. I've listened to stuff from Fiber Connect, and they were talking about the speeds. And there's some countries out there working on 30s and 50, 30x and 50x already. So the technology is out there. It's not here. We're on 10, but it is coming, and it'll be interesting to see who has it first. I have a suspicion it's going to be in China first. That does higher speeds. So it's interesting that what's happening out there in the speed. So
absolutely.
The days of lag is over.
Yeah, maybe you see it also in the US between the big ISPs from the pure cable of the coax HFC towards the fiber today. That's also something that we see here, like the incumbent telcos, they are moving quickly to fiber because copper is out. But then, of course, you have all the DOCSIS networks. DOCSIS 3.1, DOCSIS 4.0 is coming. So that's very competitive speeds. And it's a network which exists. So I think that's also a kind of, I would say, a scene that I would like to see what's going on over there. What is moving? Is it going to be DOCSIS for a long time? Or is fiber really then the most economical, future-proof? Something that I'm really intrigued on how it's going to be over the next coming years.
Yeah, I think fiber in the States is going to take over. I was in some meetings recently talking about the DOCSIS, and it's being talked about less and less now on the cable TV, which we call the traditional cable TV guys. Yeah, they're going to fiber. 3 years ago, a lot of the cable companies in the States, they weren't doing any fiber, and now it's all they want to talk about.
Oh, they're not doing fiber from the distribution to the home because their trunks were fiber or satellite, if I'm not mistaken. And that was done, part of it to strengthen the infrastructure and then obviously prepare for larger and larger bandwidth needs. So it's that distribution into the home part that they weren't doing that now they're investigating and doing to some point.
Yeah.
So we did talk about something, by the way. I want to talk about home construction again because in my former life, I ran a lot of wires and cables to homes, and we're always dealing with 2x4s. You guys don't use 2x4s. Everything is. Do you run the duct and the concrete? Like, how do you run the duct? I'm assuming you run duct.
Yeah, in some cases you run duct. Some cases you put the indoor cable straight into your wall. So there's different methods. Different countries are using different methods as well.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom.
One.
So
it's not.
A lot of it, as I understood, because I discussed this with other people, when they're constructing the home, okay, there is ducts laid out, and for all your outlets. Instead of the cable, like here in the U.S., it's stapled to the stud or a 2x4. Okay, there you have ducts in the wall, and it's prepared that way before concrete is poured, whether it's poured or block, and you can do it in block by laying it through the center hole of the block as long as it's not solid block.
Listen, as a former installer, I think that's genius. I think we should do that here. Just run duct to the whole house. Because that's always a big thing. Like I have fiber to my house now. My modem is a floor above me, and I am too lazy to run a wire down. And even though I know how to do it and I have all the equipment, I'm wireless to my modem. And I would be so much faster speeds if I actually hooked up.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that I have to drill a hole and, between my floors and pull a wire or find a hole that's existing. And that just seems like that's a weekend for me. I don't want to do that. I'm living on wireless. But if we would have put the dot in, I love that idea. Yeah.
I must say, if we look into the market of the Wi-Fi repeaters, that's the extension of the Wi-Fi from your gateway. That's a big market, and that's the solution because not everyone has the knowledge or the people that can put extenders or put a wire. Not always possible because if the duct is on the wrong place, which is quite often happening. You have to drill a hole in your living room, in your kitchen, your bathroom. Wi-Fi extenders is the solution. You plug it in, it's configured, you're up and running. And with the new Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi 6 and probably the Wi-Fi 7 is coming. That are quite good speeds. That's like a wide connection already. So that's the main investment that operators are doing, or ISPs. You have the main gateway somewhere in your living room, and then you just have extensions.
Yeah, they all have it now.
And
the extensions, the extenders are just simple plug-in outlet.
Yeah.
And they look like an air freshener or a light that a night light you plug into your outlet, and it's just it's a Wi-Fi extender. Yeah, people have it. All the cable TV companies, ISPs are using these things. So
yeah, it's flexible. Expand, it can expand from 2 pots, as they call it, to Wi-Fi extensions to 3, 4, you name it. It's very agile, very easy.
Yeah,
you can do it yourself. Most important.
Yeah, and that's the key. And what did you not do? Drill holes and pull wire, and as Wayne said, waste your weekend.
Yeah.
So
indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, technology is amazing. I'm looking forward to what's coming in the future because I just think it's going to get better. Communication is going to get better. The only thing that scares me, we can go back to the landline days, is when there was an outage and say something like we lose power and our cell phone's dead, the old landline works no matter what. You just pick it up and it works. And I think a lot of people have forgotten about that. So if you ever can't get a hold of me, guys, because I don't have a landline.
You mean your power went out and you don't have a landline to call you? Exactly.
Correct. Or my cell phone. But no,
your cell phone's dead.
That was the one big thing from landline, and that's why I always kept the phone around. Is because living in Ohio at the time, you'd lose power, you lost your communications. So
yeah.
So and I had a 20-foot cord that stretched around the corner into the closet, so I could talk to my girlfriend when I was in high school. I think everyone did that, didn't they?
Indeed, yes, yes, exactly. Oh my God, you just aged yourself, buddy, big time.
That's all right. I'm a kid at the age. We had long cords on our phones.
Yeah, the secret is out.
Exactly.
No way back.
You attached to the wall.
Yeah. Oh listen, I remember the shared lines where you'd get on and there'd be someone on the line already. Yeah, that was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Wow. Party
there goes
line.
The time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yep. So
no, we're lucky that we have the cell phones. What would be the life without a cell phone?
Easier,
easier,
less documented. Yeah,
true. Yeah, life would be simpler.
Yes,
indeed.
Lower pace.
Yeah. We just have a bunch of Polaroids from when I was a kid. That's how I remember what I did. But there were some things I'm really glad I didn't have a cell phone around when I was younger. So
everybody. Right?
Yeah.
That's just not you. It's everybody.
No. It's everyone. Believe me.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Cool.
On that joyous note, why don't we wrap
we could
it
just
up?
Talk forever, guys. I'm sure people will probably listen to us ramble.
Exactly. We can go on forever. So, but I think we should shut it down now.
Yes.
Luke, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Okay.
Pleasure, really.
We hope this podcast has been informative. Again, thanks, Luke, for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed our discussion today and hope you can join us again in the future. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right.
Cheers.